I just fell into a really low place. What is up, you guys? Wow, long freaking time no talk. We got a lot to cover today. I just wanted to kind of jump back on my YouTube and just sort of explain kind of what's gone on in the past couple months, so you guys can just sort of get an idea for, I guess, everything that's been going on in my head and everything like that. Just to, I guess, start the clean the slate, whatever, and get moving again with all the content and everything that I was sharing with you guys. And yeah, I just felt the need to kind of open up about some things, and I was gonna do it on my Instagram story, but there's honestly a lot more I want to say, and I think it could help some of you guys out as well. So I just want to talk about it on a larger scale. So obviously, if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen I've been like with my, you know, sort of mental health, I guess, recently with everything with the coronavirus. I know we're all in a funk from it. Everybody, like, I don't think there's a single person who feels like this is completely normal and cool and fun and positive. If you do, props to you, but I'm sure all of us have at least felt some sort of, you know, weirdness, right? Now, what I'm going through, honestly, I want to say it's from coronavirus and it's from the pandemic and, you know, fear of that and everything, but it's not 100% that. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And the reason I want to talk about it again is because it could happen to some of you. I'm somebody who, I know I have people who kind of look up to me and, you know, want to follow my footsteps or whatever and do something similar with their lives and their careers. And I just want to make sure, like, everyone has a full view of my life, meaning not just seeing the positive things, but seeing the negative things as well, because it's super important to understand before you get yourself into situations. So first of all, I kind of want to explain the way everything was back before I moved. So in, like, I guess this summer to fall, I was workaholic. Honestly, like, working all the time. I would get up at like 6:30 every single day and probably work till at least 9 at night. Some nights even later, honestly. And obviously I would go to the gym in between. I would eat food, like, you know, I would do normal things in between, but I was working like that whole time, every single day. On the weekends, I wouldn't work as much, but I was still working on the weekends. I was working literally Sunday to Sunday, every day of the week, doing some sort of work. And I was constantly thinking about working. I was constantly thinking about content. I was constantly thinking about business and this and that and the other thing. And in those moments, like, I literally thought to myself, like, I am going to cause myself to burn out. But it was almost like addicting. It was an addicting process because I had this goal and I wanted to get to it. So I was going to put all the effort that I could into that goal. And at this point in my life as well, I didn't really have much else going on. Like, I was so excited to, you know, move one day. I was so excited to move on with my life and get out of my house and get an apartment, all that kind of stuff, that I wasn't even going out to bars or anything. Like, yes, I'd hang out with my friends here and there, but I wasn't going out to bars. I wasn't doing really anything else, you know, maybe hanging out with family sometimes, but I was mostly only working. That was my life, seriously. So honestly, from like when I graduated college till I moved here, that is how my life was, like a consistent workflow, just waking up, working, going to bed, working, you know what I mean? So when I moved here, obviously you don't want to be working 24/7 when you move to a new location, especially California. From New Jersey, you don't want to be sitting on your laptop working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and missing every single day and not being able to see, you know, the outside world. So now it came to this time where I didn't just have one main focus anymore, you know, just working. I wanted to work. I wanted to make friends. I wanted to go out. I wanted to explore. I wanted to see the world. All these different new types of things that I wanted to do on top of working. And it became very, very clear, very, very fast, that I had no idea what balance was. Clearly no idea. You know, I thought I knew what balance was, but the only reason I could balance my life previously was because working was the only thing I did. So obviously it's really easy to balance just one thing. But now that I had moved here, I realized, like, oh my God, I really don't know how to balance things out. I don't know how to do this. Not just that, a lot of what I did with working before I moved here, when I get like super into something and really motivated for something, it's because I have a goal. I think that's a majority of people. When you have a goal to reach, you're just gonna pursue it so much harder and so much faster. If you have no goal, it's just like you're, you know, it's just another day. So for a long time, my goal was to move to California, to be able to live here, right? And once I reached that goal, now that I'm here, subconsciously, I guess, a lot of that motivation kind of fell back. And I was, you know, finding it so much harder to work, so much harder to set goals and like even care about setting goals or anything like that, because I'm here now, right? Like they always talk about how the journey is the best part, and it honestly is, because once you get there, it's like, okay, now what, right? And so one, working was becoming a lot less motivating because I no longer had, you know, I had reached the goal or whatever. Two, there were a lot more things that I wanted to do. And three, I didn't know what balance was. So I didn't know how to balance all this stuff. And it got to the point where I almost started resenting working as well, and resenting content and resenting showing up on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. And I started getting really disconnected with why I'm here in the first place and why I'm doing what I do in the first place. And it just started feeling really weird. I did not feel like myself. I mean, I still, you know, sometimes I'm like, but I really started getting really disconnected. And that's why, if you saw my Instagram story, I've been rewatching my old YouTube videos and everything. Like, I loved doing what I was doing. And for some reason, after I moved here, that was starting to fall back. And again, I think it's a combination of the burnout, combination of not knowing a balance, and again, like I said, goals, right? So if you don't have a goal for yourself, it's kind of hard to keep yourself constantly motivated and disciplined. It's the same thing with the gym. Like, if you're just going to get fit, what does that mean, right? If you're going to reach a certain squat PR, if you're going to lose a certain amount of pounds or whatever it is, that's a lot more motivating than just saying, I'm going to be active and get fit. It doesn't really have much context for you. So obviously that was all happening, and I think it was a little bit obvious as well on my feed, just like with my content and everything. Personally, was not, you know, since I moved here, it has not been to the par that it used to be, at least over the summer and stuff. Like, I'm telling you, I used to think about content 24/7. Like, all the time I think about things that I could bring you guys and things that I could do and things that I could say and things that I could make. But again, I don't think that was healthy either. You know, that was not balanced. That was just like constantly thinking about business. And yes, obviously it's an important part of my life, but it's not all that I am. This is not all that I am. Like, I'm also human and I need to experience life and all that as well. So all of that's going on. And then obviously this coronavirus stuff happens. So I was supposed to go home in March after the Arnold Fitness Expo, and the Arnold got canceled, as a lot of you know, so I no longer could go home. And that was really hard on me because I was very excited to see my family. I was already kind of in this funk of like just feeling really disconnected, and I just wanted to see my family, right? I just wanted to be with them, and I was excited for that. So that was upsetting. So I decided to book another flight home in May to surprise my mom for Mother's Day. I had to also cancel that because obviously with the coronavirus stuff, it's just not a smart time to be traveling. So that sucks as well. So I literally have not, every time that I have been planning to see my family, I can't. And then obviously I have anxiety, as I've talked about many times before. So I always think about like, what happens if this and that. Okay, got a lot of thoughts up here. So between like just feeling really disconnected with myself in the first place, and then all this anxiety with the pandemic, and then everything just started building up, and I just fell into a really low place. Like, honestly, it was to the point where, like I said, back in August and stuff, I'd wake up 6:30, I'd burst out of bed, like so excited to be alive and to just like create content and do new things and try new things and whatever. And like just this past week, honestly, like getting up at 10:30, not even wanting to get up, like literally wanting to still sleep, but my body just couldn't sleep anymore, so I got up. And it's just like really not good, obviously, as I'm saying this. I started to realize, like, obviously I'm super disconnected right now with like myself, and it felt really weird, and it felt scary, honestly. Like, when you feel this, it's like the weirdest feeling, it's the scariest feeling. And that is when I started watching back my old YouTube videos, and I was like, what happened between these 2 points? Like, really, what happened? And that's when I started to remember, like, okay, back in, you know, August, September, whatever, when you were making these YouTube videos, you didn't really have much else going on. You were literally just working 24/7, and now you're in a spot where you don't want to work 24/7, you want to do other things, and I need to find that balance. And clearly, there was actually this quote on Instagram that I shared to my story, and it said something like, what you feel is telling you something that you're missing in your life. And the one about anxiety was like, if you feel anxious, it's telling you that something is out of balance in your life. And that is so true. And that is exactly what was going on, is I didn't feel right because I was just all sorts of out of whack. And I still am trying to work on that. I'm not like 100% back, obviously, but I'm working on just getting myself back, I guess, and like reconnecting to everything and figuring out a schedule and a balance that is not going to make me go crazy, not working 24/7 and not working 24/7, if you know what I mean, and just getting that balance back. Because when you feel disconnected and all mumbo jumbo weird and stuff, it's not cool. So I want to talk about this book. So I talked about this on my Instagram story, and a couple of you were asking about it. So this is by Brene Brown. Brene Brown she has her PhD. She does a lot of research about human psychology, the way we are. She mostly focuses on being courageous and vulnerable. So basically being courageous and being vulnerable is the opposite of being comfortable, right? So if you're doing anything that's like risky, bold, different, new, consider courageous and vulnerable. Now, her whole mantra is, if you live a life that is courageous and vulnerable, you're doing that knowing that you will fail. You will. And now a lot of people will say like, yes, I am willing to live a courageous and vulnerable life knowing that I might fail. And she says, no, that's not it. You are going to fail. You are literally going to fall flat on your face at some point. It is guaranteed. And I've talked about this before on my podcast. I've failed before in the past, but before, when I failed, it's been like business related, or, you know, maybe my Instagram lost followers or whatever, like something that was not up here. So this type of falling down, this type of like falling flat on my face, which is very new for me because it was like a complete, like, I don't know, it was an inner thing, really. It wasn't a situational thing. It was like inside of me, just falling flat on my face, if that makes sense. Yeah, so this book just kind of talks about when that happens, like when you fall down, how to get yourself back up, how to deal with it, and all that kind of stuff. She talks a lot about like heartbreak and stuff. So if you're someone who's going through heartbreak, good book for you to read. Talks about being a parent, like all that kind of stuff. Like anything where you have been in an uncomfortable situation and you ended up failing in that situation, or falling down, or just whatever. It doesn't go the way you wanted it to. She talks about it in here and just helps you kind of give you the tools to get yourself back up and to, again, continue living courageously and vulnerably, because honestly, it's that or being comfortable. And being comfortable, in my opinion, is worse than falling down. So the reason I bring this up is just because I've talked about, you know, my move across the country, like all that kind of stuff, and you want to look at that, obviously, something like, wow, awesome, cool, great. But that's a courageous move, right? That's a vulnerable move, to move yourself solo across the country, 3,000 miles from home. It's terrifying, it's nauseating, and especially when you're a self-employed person. And now I'm not only self-employed, which was a courageous thing to do in the first place, I'm living across the country 3,000 miles from home, and this pandemic's going on, right? So now I can't go home if I wanted to, which I do want to, not meaning move home, but I just want to see my family. And obviously there's this pandemic going on, so I don't really have job security, or God forbid if I needed to apply for unemployment or something, I can't do it, right? Because I'm self-employed. So that is kind of what this whole book talks about, is, you know, what to do when you're in a situation where you have been living courageously and vulnerably and you have fallen down, because it's going to happen, and how to get yourself back up and continue living courageously and vulnerably. So I don't know, this book just helps a lot, and it just kind of puts things into perspective. And I just want to be honest and open with you guys that, you know, even though things might look positive sometimes and seem like they're going to have a positive outcome, like for example, I did not expect this move to be hard. Like I did expect it to be hard, but I didn't expect it to be this hard. And, you know, obviously things happen that weren't expected and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I did fall down a little bit. Like, yeah, it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But that doesn't mean I'm going to now just, you know, live in a life of comfort and not ever try again, not ever do something bold again, and not ever, you know, be vulnerable and courageous and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's just not the life I was meant for. So, yeah, basically, that's about it. You guys, I just wanted to let you know that I did fall down a little bit, and I've picked myself back up, and quite honestly, excited for all the amazing things that's going to come from this, and the opportunities and the perspective that I'm going to gain from just not being my best self lately, and being able to share it with you guys too and help you on my podcast, because truthfully, everything I talk about on my podcast comes from experience, and this is just another one that I can add on to help you guys get through similar situations. So if you are somebody who's going through something like this and you want some tips, tricks, whatever, make sure you follow my podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It is because I said I would. I haven't had an episode out recently, but I definitely will have one out pretty soon. And yeah, I'm just gonna be, you know, a lot more open and honest about how I'm dealing with this, getting that balance back in my life, and just getting myself back reconnected to the core. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.